The detective from small blue world seeks audience with conqueror of galaxies. Few beings interest me anymore, but Scarlet Witch intrigues me. Tell me about this woman wielding power to reshape probability itself. What makes her worthy of my attention and your desperation?
Vilgax. Wanda Maximoff doesn't think like normal person. Her power isn't about force or strategy. It's about changing odds and probability on whim. She warped entire reality, creating alternate world called House of M. Millions died. She altered fundamental laws of physics with single declaration. She's not controlled by logic because her power operates beyond logical boundaries.
That's not power I typically encounter, because most species rely on technology or physical strength. But every force has vulnerability if you understand its nature correctly. Tell me specifically what makes Scarlet Witch dangerous beyond theoretical power. Has she actually harmed your world? Or are you concerned about potential threat? Understanding whether she's active problem or preventative concern changes strategic approach significantly.
She's active problem. Her probability manipulation caused deaths across multiple superhero teams. Heroes she considered allies died from accidents that shouldn't have happened. Lightning struck safe location. Buildings collapsed despite reinforced structure. She didn't consciously target them, but her power operated subconsciously, affecting probability fields around anything she feared or resented. She's essentially living weapon, whose detonation is unpredictable and uncontrollable. That's what makes her uniquely dangerous compared to typical supervillain.
Unconscious power activation is more dangerous than conscious control because target cannot negotiate or reason with subconscious reaction. But there's fundamental limitation. If her power operates through will and emotion, emotions can be manipulated. Trigger specific emotional response, and her power activates toward predetermined target. She becomes arrow aimed at destination you choose. What are her psychological vulnerabilities? What emotions trigger strongest probability manipulation responses in her consciousness?
Scarlet Witch responds strongest to guilt and perceived betrayal. She feels responsible for deaths caused by her power. Guilt drives her toward desperate action, attempting to fix what she damaged. If we present a situation where she believes her power can save innocent lives, she'll activate her abilities toward that target, regardless of danger to herself. But using guilt as manipulation tool requires emotional precision. One wrong move and we trigger rage instead, making her power activate unpredictably toward us. Sly affecting probability fields around anything she feared or resented. She's essentially living weapon whose detonation is unpredictable and uncontrollable. That's what makes her uniquely dangerous compared to typical supervillain.
Scarlet Witch operates at power level where even unconscious activation causes planetary scale damage. Manipulating her into power activation seems counterintuitive if goal is preventing destruction. Have you considered that triggering her power intentionally simply guarantees catastrophe rather than preventing it? What stops her from destroying everything accidentally while attempting what you've manipulated her toward?
Containment field designed specifically for probability manipulation. I've been working with specialists on technology that isolates her power within defined space. If we can contain her probability fields within sealed chamber while she's activated emotionally, her power affects only contained area. Destruction happens in controlled location rather than spreading globally. But the field requires her to be inside chamber when activated. Getting her inside without suspicion is challenging. She's experienced enough to recognize obvious traps.
Standard containment won't work because her power transcends physical barriers through probability shifting. Your chamber would need a psychological component preventing her from realizing walls are psychological constraint rather than physical. That requires someone understanding perception manipulation as deeply as she understands probability. Do you possess such expertise? Or are you planning to rely on technology alone for containment?
Let's get Robin's input.
She manipulates probability because reality feel chaotic and beyond her control. If we create situation where she believes she's choosing her power activation, where she feels agency and decision, she's less likely to panic and trigger unconscious manifestation. We present containment chamber as choice she makes willingly, not trap we're forcing her into. Voluntary containment becomes completely different psychological scenario than forced imprisonment. She'll cooperate with something she chose.
But how do you convince being wielding reality manipulation that anything is truly her choice? She might recognize manipulation itself as probability attack and respond with defensive probability cascade. Have you prepared for her recognizing your manipulation and retaliating? Scarlet Witch's defensive reaction to perceived threats might be more destructive than any planned activation.
We present Chamber as sanctuary where her power cannot harm others accidentally. We frame it as solution she's been seeking. Way to live without fearing unconscious destruction. She's spent years terrified of her own power. Offering genuine solution to that fear resonates psychologically, but presenting it requires someone she trusts, someone who's worked with her before. I'm coordinating with Vision to explain containment as protective measure rather than trap.
Using Vision of Scarlet Witch as mediator changes psychological dynamics substantially. Personal connection bypasses logical suspicion. She'll trust his assessment more than yours or mine. But there's risk that Vision's presence triggers different emotional response than you're planning for. Romantic attachment might activate stronger probability manipulation than guilt or fear. Have you prepared contingency for her power responding differently to presence of romantic partner than your calculations predicted?
Master Bruce, Vilgax, I must raise concern about relying on Vision's emotional influence over Scarlet Witch during containment activation. Romantic relationships introduce variables that defy predictable calculation. She might refuse containment to protect him, or she might activate power defensively believing you're threatening him. Alternatively, Vision's presence might comfort her into compliance while simultaneously reducing her vigilance. Each scenario produces different outcome. How do you account for romantic psychology variables?
Vision understands the risks and the necessity. He'll present containment as joint decision, something protecting both of them. Romantic partnership means they face threat together rather than separately. That psychological framing transforms containment from isolation into unity. Once she's inside Chamber, sealing mechanisms activate, preventing accidental probability manifestation without appearing to trap her. She remains conscious, aware, able to communicate, but her power operates within controlled space. It's containment through cooperation rather than force.
I approve despite preferring direct conquest approach. Vision's mediation should facilitate cooperation. Once contained safely, her probability manipulation cannot harm broader population. She remains alive, conscious, treated with dignity despite dangerous circumstances. This reflects your detective approach, valuing preservation over elimination. Proceed with your plan. I'll monitor for probability cascade complications and provide intervention if standard containment fails.